What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Sunday edition of the Crunch Time here on RotoGrinders. We're here to talk NBA. I don't know. Is anybody? Hello? Is anyone out there? There's football going on. I don't know. Hello, John. Can you confirm? Are the games full on both sites for basketball today?
Are they full? Like in a contest?
I'm just messing with you.
Good question.
Yeah, we got some people watching. I'm sure some more will come in during the show, but fun. I don't know if it's a fun football game, fun for me, because I think I've been on the right side of bet so far. I think I'm going to miss my Robbie Gould field goal prop because I don't know if he's going to get the chance to kick any field goals. I was on the Eagles first half. I was on the Eagles overall. Got to roll this into the next game. Got some basketball, John. It's a fun night.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, we got the divisional championships or the conference championships, and we've got 3 basketball games. The DFS slate is kind of dominated by the first game here because it's got a huge total. But it should be good. Still some big prizes to be won, so it should be a good time.
Yeah, breaking news. Play the Sports Center. I don't know if we're gonna get sued for that. So we've got some Clippers news. So the Clippers, we were waiting on some information. We've got Marcus Morris is going to be out, Reggie Jackson out, Luke Kennard available to play. So real quick, what do we think of those? I'll talk some cash games. I'll let you handle tournaments. With the Clippers, sort of, Marcus Morris, Reggie Jackson out. What do you Luke Kennard's going to be a pretty good value play. How do you see all these guys are going to get bumps up across the board? I'm already on Zubac quite a bit, at least from a cash game perspective. Kennard's probably going to be an elite value play now. How are you thinking the Clippers shake out?
Yeah, so I was kind of planning for us not to have the news as we went into lock. And I was going to say, you can kind of swap Marcus Morris down to Nicholas Batum. But yeah, now we have the news. So there's only one piece of news left, which is Cleveland. But yeah, I think Luke Kennard will be a value play. I think I'm going to end up with a lot of Terrence Mann and Ivica Zubac. Kawhi was already sitting. Paul George was already sitting. So now, not a huge surprise if Marcus Morris and Reggie Jackson are also sitting, but it leaves the Clippers pretty shorthanded, as you would imagine. So yeah, I think the 2 guys that I'm really thinking about are Terrence Mann and Ivica Zubac. Beyond that gets a little sketchy. I think Luke Kennard will be in there, so it's good that we know that he's playing. So he'll be in there as a value play. And we still have to wait and see what the starting lineup is going to be. They're going to be shorthanded at point guard because John Wall is already out. So I'm expecting Terrence Mann to basically be the point guard here, and so that gives him that makes him a really good value play. He was kind of already a good value play already with Kawhi and Paul George already sitting. So maybe see Amir Coffey in the starting lineup. And I guess Norman Powell will be a screaming value as well.
Yeah, so basically anyone starting for the Clippers, you're probably going to want to play them in a lot of lineups tonight. So, and then I want to talk on Cleveland. We saw Mitchell was at shoot-around today. To me, that probably means he's going to end up playing. What's your overall thoughts on this right now? It is the 7 o'clock game, so we might get news at any minute, but I currently think he's going to be in. The projections team has him in. That's how I'm approaching it right now.
Yeah, I mean, I've been planning for him to be in. I think if he's not, I gave Darius Garland a little bit of a boost, and it's a really, at least I know on Fanduel, it's a pretty easy swap down from Darius Garland to Donovan Mitchell because they're both guards, and they're both around the same price, so they're both guards, and I think Mitchell's a few $100s less than Garland, so I was basically just planning to give Garland a little bit of a boost, and then you can swap down to Donovan Mitchell if he's in, if you want a little bit of a different play.
All right, so I'm going to go through real quick a couple guys for the cash game players out there I think are pretty much close to locks for your cash games. I've got the same 3 on both sites, and I think you can probably add in Terrence Mann as a 4th player. I would just go ahead and throw him in even before the projections team gets everything updated because he's going to be doing it all, and like John said, likely to play quite a bit of point guard. He's going to go from a projection of 26 fantasy points to probably north of 30 once the update hits. So I'm going to go throw him in. So we've got Alvarado for the Pelicans with them sitting everybody today at the point guard position. Basically, his Mann's projection is probably going to creep up to what Alvarado is. So I like Alvarado. You got to spend some money. And it's like, I guess my question for you is, John, which superstar in a potential blowout game would you rather play today? You can play both. You can play Giannis. You can play Ja. I think it's easier. Well, with Man being pretty much a must play now, I think it got a little bit easier on DraftKings to probably play both of them. If you had to pick between one of them, who you got today? Because these situations are pretty sketchy on both sides for their opponents.
Yeah, I would say John Morant, just because that game's got a huge total. It's 241 and a half. Like that's 12 points higher than the Milwaukee game. And what is it? It's like almost 30 points higher than the Clippers Cleveland game. So I'm actually not going to go crazy with Clippers here. Like I think on DraftKings it'll be like Terrence Mann or Vika Zubac, where you can play them both. But like I'm going to be hitting the Memphis Indiana game very heavily just because the pricing is there. But yeah, you can. I believe you can get Ja and Giannis like fairly easily in the same lineup. So
if there's ever a game where the Bucks just are, they pull those random halftime games where they play the guys the first half and they're up by 15 and sometimes they sit. This, I don't know. This smells like it could be possibly one of them today.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the raw points can still matter somewhat. So anyway, Giannis can get there in 3 quarters pretty easily.
Yep.
And if it is a blowout, then Milwaukee's gonna have to be putting up some points, and they're most likely going to come from Giannis. So the blowout isn't something that I'm like super concerned about. It's really more the point total, just pushing me towards John Morant.
Yeah, and if you were going to play Giannis, are you more apt to? I mean, we're all playing some of these Pelicans guys. Would you be more apt to play more Pelicans in your lineup if you're playing Giannis, hoping for a full game, or is that sort of not matter too much because it's a 3-game slate, but there's enough value you don't have to do anything like that.
No, I think it does matter. I do think it makes sense to play more Pelicans, like if you're playing Giannis, and like Jose Alvarado is going to be a good value. Trey Murphy is going to be a good value. So like I think it makes sense to you compare Giannis with some of these Pelicans, Najee Marshall, Jose Alvarado, Trey Murphy. They're like the 3 that I particularly like on Fanduel, Herbert Jones, a little bit on DraftKings.
All right, just looking. Thought I saw some Cleveland news, but I did not, so I'm mistaken. So let me just get back to a couple guys I think are must plays. Alvarado, John Morant. I tend to side with John. He's a little cheaper than Giannis, and if you can only afford one, I think I like Ja, but I think it's also very possible tonight to get to both of them. If you want to do that in your cash games, I think that's a pretty safe play. Man, I've added in with his uptick in production with everybody out for the Clippers. And then Miles Turner, basically, he's been lighting it up. It's against Memphis without Steven Adams, which I think is a big thing here. There's a lot of block potential for him. Plays a little bit better on FanDuel, but I'll still take a couple blocks on DraftKings. I think Miles Turner just sort of fits in. And again, you have to spend salary somewhere. And Turner with Halliburton out, with what the Pacers are currently doing, with his uptick in usage, seems like a pretty good play. You mix in, 1 or 2 other Clippers value plays. You mix in 1 or 2 other Pelicans value plays, Najee Marshall, Herb Jones. You're pretty much looking at, a cash game build. Basically on both sites, you're going to be playing almost all the same players, in my opinion. So I want to talk to John. Always nice when he's on here. A real GPP, multi-entry, algorithmic mind, running a bunch of other things here. How do you play this 3-game slate? Because everyone's playing Alvarado. Everyone's going to play Terrence Mann. Everyone's going to play one, if not both, of Ja and Giannis. How do you do something different? Do you make any rules? What's kind of going through your head and all your spreadsheets as you start spitting this stuff out?
So honestly, I actually do it a little qualitatively, not quantitatively. I kind of look at it. It's a big football Sunday. Like I'm not going to try to get away from the chalk as much as I would normally. Because I think there's going to be more maybe hand builders than you would think. On a typical
those hand builders take their money.
More people that are probably just watching the football games. Maybe they have a bet, on the sports book app, and they're kind of wandering over to the DFS lobby, like, I'll throw in an NBA lineup, and they might not be paying that much attention to like injury news that you say just broke. So I'm honestly not going to try to get away from the talk as much as I would on like a Wednesday main slate. And then I will in like a set of 150 lineups, I'll go a little bit more towards game stacking. because one game going like berserk or going like way under the total, going way over the total, going into overtime, double overtime, like that's going to make a huge difference on a 3-game slate. So if I do play like way off the chalk, I'm going to be playing like a game stack. So like I'll play like a Cleveland Clippers game stack maybe, whereas I'm otherwise not going to be playing like a ton of Cleveland players, if that makes sense.
Yep, I understand all of that completely. So do you got any? I always like to ask my co-hosts on these slates where you have sort of all these value plays, which one do you think might be the one you have to have, and which is the one is maybe most likely to fail? I know our ownership isn't completely updated yet, but you can pretty much take a guess on who's going to be the highest owned player. So pick the one you got to have, and one maybe you're more likely, maybe not. He's not on the winning lineups tonight.
Let's see. So on FanDuel, I think the value play I'd really like is Jose Alvarado. And it's 3 points for steals. And I think that makes a big difference. I think it gets overlooked sometimes. Like the 3 points for blocks and steals on FanDuel makes a big difference. So I like Alvarado on both sites, but I think like particularly on FanDuel, he's a good play. I think on DraftKings, probably Terrence Mann at 4,100 is going to be the guy you have to get. That's 800 cheaper than on FanDuel. The FanDuel scoring doesn't give him like a particular edge. And so like at only 4,100 now, he's going to be playing the point guard with Reggie Jackson out. That's it's a big difference, 800. So I'd say Terrence Mann on DraftKings.
All right. And then the one maybe of all the value plays, all the nice value tonight, which is the one you might be a little more iffy on? And then if everyone's going to play that guy, who's maybe a swerve on that guy's particular team that you could go to in hopes of a foul trouble or someone else outperforming him? This one's always the tougher question to ask.
Yeah. Let's see. So the value play that I'm not as high on. Hold on. I'm still updating some stuff with the injury news. See, Brandon Clark's going to see a ton of ownership, and on DraftKings, it's not like I would say he's not a must play, and I think he's going to see extremely high ownership. And the same thing with the blocks and steals, where he's not getting like that. He's not getting that bonus. He relies on that somewhat. He's 5,300, so yeah, I'd say Brandon Clark on DraftKings. On FanDuel, see. So maybe Nicholas Batum. I think he's going to project really well, but there's still some fragility there. Particularly, we don't know exactly what the Clippers starting lineup is going to look like. So yeah, and he's just doesn't put up like points like he used to. So he's had some starts this year where he's been putting up far less than 20 points. So that just because like there's other people sitting on the Clippers, like Batum's not necessarily the guy that's going to take advantage.
Yeah. And do you think, I know it's a different price range, but Norman Powell, I mean, he was already like, no one was really, we were playing him, but he's not really going to get a bump in ownership. He'll get a little bit, but probably not as much as he should, in my opinion. He's someone I think deserves, he's got him at 32 and he's still ownership. Yeah, 32. He's still, right around the top 10 in ownership, but he's someone I'd be interested to maybe take a little bit more of a stand on tonight.
Yeah, I think like Norman Powell's a guy, we've seen it with Portland. He can put up fantasy points. So I think Norman Powell's a good call. I think of the Clippers guys, I like Zubac. Terrence Mann is probably the one I like the best. Then Zubac, then probably Norman Powell.
All right, let's see. We do have about 15 minutes left until lineup lock. If you guys want to start getting your questions into the RotoGrinders Discord for you premium members or in the YouTube for those of you watching free there, we would appreciate the like. We will get to your questions. I want to thank our sponsor, Fanduel, for sponsoring the show. If you are new to them in one of their many sports betting states, you can get a bunch of free bets. There's certain ways you might want to use them. If you have any questions, you can always shoot me a DM on the twitter.com. There's certain strategies you want to take with that first bet you place on FanDuel to maximize its value. But there's a lot of fun things FanDuel does. Their boost for anyone can get this. I think it's a nationwide boost. Their boost for the next game for football is a pretty nice one. It's like everything looks pretty reachable. And I think it's like a K Adams boost or something like that. Make sure to go check that out. That is one, whatever your max bet is on FanDuel for that boost, I would make sure to take that as a very nice one to partake in my particular opinion. If you want anything that's not a FanDuel boost and you just want picks, you can go to Scores and Odds. That is our sports betting bet here at RotoGrinders. Hit my Eagles first half. Does this count as like I get to tout the bet because of the injuries to the 49ers, or were they going to win that first half anyway? I'm always on the fence on these, but the Eagles played a good first half. I'm going to go ahead and count that as a W for me, John.
Yeah, I think if the money hits your bank account, that's a W. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It seems like there's so many more bad beats than like bad wins for me. Maybe it's because I get pissed about the bad beats more than the bad wins, but it always seems that way. So it was nice to have an injury go my way for once. It never seems to happen in DFS. It never went that way in poker, right? I'd always have the aces cracked. So it's good to get it in on the good side of it once, John.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's a very like psychological thing. Our losses, feel worse than our wins or whatever.
Yeah. All right. So let's get to a couple of questions. I'm told there's a football show basically right after this one. So let's get in as many questions from you guys as we can. And John is a very brilliant GPP mind. If you have any tournament strategy a little bit different than this guy, that guy, please feel free. It's nice when John does the shows. You get a little bit more in depth when he's on here. So let's go to the Discord for any premium members. I don't see any questions in there. Premium members, where are you? Get your questions in. We want you in there answering them. So we're going to go to YouTube. Let's see here. Jay Kearney want to know who takes up the usage for Bane. Is it going to be Brooks, Clark? How do you see this Memphis rotation playing out? To me, it's the one guy I'm definitely on is Morant. You hesitated a little bit on Clark. Who else on Memphis do you think could have a big game today?
So, I think Ja Morant's like the obvious answer. And then I do think it's Dylan Brooks. I think they've had this rotation for a while because I think Bane missed last game. So I think things will be like baked into the projections. Brandon Clark's a little bit hard to get away from. I think he's going to, you could run 150 lineups and get like 90% Brandon Clark. And so I don't think that's necessarily, especially on DraftKings. But yeah, so he's, I mentioned him as a little bit of like a more fragile play that people would think. And also remember Xavier Tillman started, I think the first game that Steven Adams missed. So I do think Xavier Tillman's still there. They do like Tillman. But yeah, I think it's basically going to be Dylan Brooks and Ja Morant. They're going to be the show.
All right, let's take a couple more. Zubac or Clark for cash? I'm definitely on the Zubac train tonight.
Yeah, I think so. I think especially with that news that if you have to choose one, then I would go with Zubac.
All right, Moses Brown against the two Cavs bigs. Not someone I was eyeing. He's been bumped up to. Actually, let me see here. I gotta go refresh. I think the projections just got updated. We'll see what our minutes are. These ancillary plays from the Clippers on a small slate, these guys are going to be super low owned. Do you have a take on any of the non-guys you project to start? We've got at 15 minutes, so still not a really big projection. Does he interest you at all?
Sorry, was that?
Moses Brown.
Oh, not really. I guess that would be the question if Zubac got in foul trouble. I guess you can take a total flyer on him in in a really large field, but yeah, he's not really a guy I'm eyeing. I don't know that you need to go that crazy with value because there's so much value on the slate.
There's so much good value. Getting too cute might be not the greatest look when the night comes full. Clark or Zubac cash? We got that one. Definitely Zubac. Let's go back to Discord. We've got one from Joey Rock. Naismith or Zaire Williams, if you got to pick those two tonight. So we didn't really talk about the Pacers too much outside of Miles Turner from the cash game perspective. How do you see their rotation playing out? And would you play Naismith or Zaire Williams for a deep value play?
I'd probably go with Zaire Williams. Is this on FanDuel or DraftKings?
Let's see. I believe he said DraftKings tournament.
DraftKings tournament. I'd probably go with Zaire Williams. I don't think he had a stellar game in his first start, but I think that's maybe a one-off. I think he can do better. I'd probably go with Zaire Williams.
All right, let's see here if I got any more questions. This is from Alexander Don. DraftKings single entry tournament. Fade or play Giannis? And then he's also asking, do you have any love for Jaren Jackson or Buddy Hield tonight? So first question, fade or play Mr. Giannis Antetokounmpo?
Yeah, I think you can absolutely play him. There's enough value now that you can get like both Giannis and John Morant, and like if like Giannis, like that game can be a blowout. It's fine. Like Giannis doesn't have to have a ceiling game for him to end up on the winning lineup.
Let's see here. I'm just trying to see if we got any more questions. Oh yeah, Jaren Jackson Jr. or Buddy Hield. I'll love for them today. You always love Triple J on the Fanduel.com for those blocks and steals. I know you love those. And then Buddy Hield been very consistent. Hasn't really done as good as I thought he would with Halliburton out, but he's certainly in play. Where do you stand on them? Do you have like whatever you're uploading into the sites right now? Do you have ownership percentages for either one of those?
I do for FanDuel, but not for DraftKings. I probably like Jaren Jackson Jr. better on both sides though.
All right. I'm going to go back to YouTube. Don't really see any more questions there. I don't know. I don't see a lot of questions. I think we've covered a lot. I'm sure some of these guys are playing football a little bit later. I know you're playing some football. How do you think this next football game is going to go?
Let's see. I think I said in the expert survey, I think I called Cincinnati again this year with another Samaje Perine like long game changing touchdown reception. I guess I'll go with that. I think Bengals, but I don't have a strong take. I've kind of slowly shifted my mind a little bit more towards basketball.
Yeah, for as it's going right now. What's more important? I guess every slate's important to you, I would assume, because you're playing just about everything. But I like football. Do you have any bets you would partake in for the football? I've made a bet on the first half over. I like both teams to basically come out. And then if I was going to play that into a game script, the Bengals sort of have locked down the Chiefs in each of their 3 games in the second half. So maybe the Bengals sort of take over in the second half, the first half over, Bengals win the second half money line or whatever like that. I think I'm sort of leaning the Bengals to win this game just a little bit more. Every time they've done it, they're a full complete team. And I was talking pre-show to both you and our producer, and it's just the Chiefs are really Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, a couple offensive linemen, and maybe a defensive player. That's literally what their team is, and the rest isn't. They have horrible special teams. It's really Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce lead that team. The Bengals are a real team, is my overall take.
Yeah, and do we have word on Kelce? Is he good to go?
Yeah, he's definitely playing. So I think he said he was a game time decision, and I think it came out that he's already going to play. I mean, there's no way he's not going to play in that game. Yeah. Would Patrick Mahomes still be throwing the football down the field if he's suffering whatever Brock Purdy suffered in the first play of the game?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I don't know.
Mahomes would definitely be in there chucking the ball. There's no question.
It could be like an elbow ligament, though. Like if he can't throw the ball.
It's the Josh Allen injury. So I'm pretty sure that's sort of what he has there. A couple more. Luke Cage on our Discord running a double center on DraftKings tournaments. Are we okay rolling that out tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's such a small slate. Like a lot of rules you wouldn't necessarily. I mean, I'm actually okay with double center at any point. Yeah. But I think you can. So we're playing Turner and Zubac are probably the two most would play. If you had let's say a third and fourth, let's get a little deeper in the weeds. Who would be 3 and 4 for you? For the center plays, let's see. So I think you could play some Hernan Gomez. I mean, he's only 3,000. So if you want salary,
I want to jump in here, John, real quick. I got Cleveland news. Kevin Love and Donovan Mitchell are both going to play. So okay. I think that's how it was trending. I don't think our projections. Did we have Kevin Love in? I think he was a little more questionable. We had him in at 16 minutes. So I don't really see anything changing if you guys are using the projections or anything like that. On it, Cleveland's going to roll out. Anyone you would specifically target? I mean, nobody's really good. Cleveland's a healthy team right now. We're not really actively targeting these guys. Who's the one you might want to have tonight that could be a lineup separator? Because it's all the value. It's Ja, it's Miles Turner, it's Giannis, it's Zubac. This is what everybody's playing. So if you play a Cleveland player, you're really doing something different tonight.
I would say maybe Donovan Mitchell, just because like he's the one most likely to really affect the slate, and he's probably going to have low ownership with that news coming in now. Cleveland's probably the team that I would play the least of after Mitchell, probably like Evan Mobley. But like, there's no reason to go nuts with Cleveland players. Like, that game has a much lower total than the other two games on the slate, and I think that's something that's important to like be aware of and note.
All right, a couple more questions have come in on Discord from Mr. Perfect, also a great wrestler, Mr. Perfect, back in the day. Is Giannis worth the spend up tonight? So let's take this one first. Yes or no? I think we both prefer Ja over Giannis. You factor in the salary savings, and I think Ja is in store for a big game. I think based off, especially the totals John was talking about, you can play both of them in any tournament lineup together. Do you have any problem paying up for Giannis tonight?
No, not at all. Like I said, he doesn't have to hit a ceiling game. The raw points matter. Yeah. It's only a 3-game slate, so you can absolutely play Giannis.
If he gets 55 fantasy points tonight, that's definitely going to play no problem. All right, and then he's got a 3 first. So pay attention here. So he's got. Let's pretend this is a tournament, and I don't know which site. Oh yes, here we go. DraftKings tournament. Boom, got it right. So it's Mobley, Turner, and McConnell, or Giannis, Alvarado, and Hernan Gomez.
I'd probably go with the first one's going to have a lot more certainty. I'd probably go with the first one. I mean, those are all like really going to be good projected plays. But I'd probably go with the first one. I think either one of them is very playable.
Yeah, I like the first one if you had to pick a side there. Favorite Clippers for DraftKings tournament from Luke Cage. So real quick, let's break down what we expect from the Clippers. Our projections are updated on here. I think they look pretty reasonable for my expectations. Maybe Man even probably gets a little bit more of a fantasy point boost. We've got him in there for 36 minutes and only 27 fantasy points. I'll take the over for sure on the 27 fantasy points if that was an actual line. So what do you think of those three? Who would you be most likely to play? And then the ancillary plays Batum, Kennard, and then take your pick of the rest of the Clippers bench.
Yeah, I think it's Bam for me. It's Man first, then Zubac, then Norman Powell, then Batum, Kennard, and then it gets pretty sketchy pretty quickly. Like Amir Coffey and Brandon Boston probably.
Yeah, I think any of Man, Zubac, or Powell could certainly fit basically any lineup you make. Would you play all three of them in the same lineup tonight?
If I was going to do that, I would run it back with a Cleveland player, and that's really a lineup where you're kind of hoping the game goes into overtime or something like that, or the game is like way more competitive than we expect, and it goes goes into overtime, or it's going way over its point total.
You love the OT plays for the game stacks for sure. So always got to have those in the repertoire.
Yeah.
All right, let's get a couple more questions. If I see any, it looks like Discord, we're out of questions there. Don Yeezy want to know on YouTube, Duarte or Man on DraftKings? I mean, Terrence Mann is without question. I'm going to play him over Duarte tonight.
Yeah, I think it has to be Terrence Mann. Even in tournaments, like I wouldn't go like crazy fading like Terrence Mann just because he's going to be very highly owned. Like he's going to be highly owned for a reason. So yeah, I'd go with Terrence Mann.
All right, guys, the red light has come on the stage. We have to leave. There is a football show coming on right after this. I want to thank all of you for watching on YouTube, RotoGrinders. If you're on YouTube, please click the like button on your way out. John, I'll see you at the RotoGrinders party. Good doing the show with you. To catch up real quick, thanks to everyone for watching. Stay tuned for Showdown Talk. For John, I'm Britt. We out you.